nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Well, we're here. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. If you are, and I know you are. And there's Catherine and Jocelyn already in the house. I'm glad you're here. Obviously, Jenny and I are here. We're saying hello. Lincoln is here. And you can see the leaves are gone from our trees. You can see my little lake behind me. I've decided to do this upstairs today because, well, the plane has landed. Mark is on his way, and we're collecting kids. So if you try to reach out to me via social media or whatever, I probably won't be answering because I'm off the grid after this show. So very excited that my kids are coming in. Today, we're going to be talking about expectations versus anticipation because they're two very, very different things. Hello there, Tanya. I'm glad you're here live today. And I think it's a great one to talk about, especially because holidays are coming up. I've got to visit with our kids and, I have expectations, not going to lie. That's just the way it goes. We get these expectations and you know how that all works. So anyway, we want to talk about that because I think we need to get that perspective correct. Also, chapter 1 is dropping on Friday, by the way. Last week, we sent out the Debbie Jansen's in the house. Hello. Last week, we sent out the introduction and a note from Leanne, and also the framework of how this book is all set up, because I'm using the Four Rooms quote to take us through all of the material. So that all dropped. And then we also, of course, have chapter 1, which is this Friday. So you can still get that. savingdinner.com/50. If you get the book, you will get the chapters, and they're being released every Friday. This is Lincoln. Do you see his tail? Yeah, that's his toy. He would just like you to know that he's there. That's his toy. Did you see that? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Linky, say hi. Can you say hi? That's your toy. That's your toy. Yep. He's saying hi. So that's what we have there. Oops. I think I just dropped I had a little thing that was making this better, but oh well, not anymore. But I think you'll be okay dealing with this, right? That's happening. The book, savingdinner.com, 50/50 again, I believe is what it is. 50 and again is how you get the book. That's how you get there. Also, Native Hydrate. We got a special deal on that. Go check that out. Can I just tell you how much this Hydrate stuff is just amazing? It's also helping me sleep, guys. I've been drinking this at night as well, just a little tiny glass of this, and it really helps with bladder control, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm not getting up all night peeing. Everybody's saying hi to Lincoln. And it also, I conked out last night. I was so pleased with that, but I tried that. It was a suggestion actually from one of the founders at Native Path. And I said, well, I don't have anything to lose except I'd love better sleep. So yeah, let's do this. Anyway, Native Hydrate. You can find it at savingdinner.com/hydrate. Okay. All right. That's happening. Also, if you go to savingdinner.com/Thanksgiving, even if you just go to Saving Dinner, you'll see there's a little banner there. And you can get our Thanksgiving menus. We've been doing this for over 20 years. Probably 25. I'm not even sure when it came out, but a long, long time. And it's kind of a thing. It's free. And it's got the troubleshooting guide. It's got the timeline. It's got everything on it that will help you to be a real pro on Thanksgiving and not burn the rolls or forget something. Okay. So check it out. Go to savingdinner.com/Thanksgiving and do me a favor and share that because this is kind of one of our things that we are doing. Debbie, yes, I'm working with this company. It's called Native Path. That's their little logo up there. So if you go to our website and you click on supplements, you're going to see their supplements. And there's a really good story. Well, there he is again. It's a really good story that goes with it. But the whole thing is that, if I were a wealthy supplement maker, this is exactly the supplements that I would be making. Exactly. There's a couple of things that I would add into their product line simply because I have some other ideas. But I'm doing a lot of ads for them and video content for them, and we are also putting their stuff on our site. I love this company. They do a fantastic job. All right. Yep, that's our partner. So it's just that's your toy, Link. Okay, he's got it right there, folks. He's going to play with it the whole time, I'm sure. Anyway, let's talk about expectations versus anticipation, because I think expectations are fully ingrained into every single areas of our lives. We have them when it comes to thinking about what our what our expectations are for the holidays. That's Lincoln looking out the window. What our expectations are for the holidays, what our expectations are for the way a visit is going to go. Like I have expectations with my kids coming in, and we have it with our jobs, with our relationships, even with ourselves. Even with ourselves, we have these expectations, but expectations, great expectations, shall we say, having these grandiose expectations, when they're left unchecked, they can lead to frustration and disappointment. I mean, has anybody experienced that? I certainly have. And Mel Robbins said it best. This is what she said. She said, we need to stop getting mad at people because they're not who we want them to be, which is so true. We have this notion that when we bring the family together, say for Thanksgiving, we're just going to have this hallmark moment and everything's going to be wonderful, even though we know that great Uncle Al is a raging alcoholic and he's probably going to ruin the whole thing, right? But we still have these weird expectations that it's going to look like a Martha Stewart Christmas or a Martha Stewart Thanksgiving or something. But what we need to do is we need to remember that we are projecting onto people and situations and outcomes ideas, thoughts, and feelings that oftentimes don't align with reality. That's what I'm talking about here. Like when you have your, alcoholic uncle come to the house and then get all flustered and upset with him because he got drunk. This is what Uncle Al does. Okay. So why would we expect him to do anything different? So there is, though, a difference between anticipation and expectations, although, it's subtle. And that's what we're going to kind of be looking at a little bit today. So first of all, anticipation is looking forward to something with excitement, with openness. And while expectations often implies a certain outcome for that event. For example, Uncle Al not getting drunk is an expectation. And anticipation, on the other hand, of that particular situation might be, hey, can you kind of watch Uncle Al, you say to your husband or something, because Uncle Al has a tendency to just tie one on pretty soon after getting to the house. So that's a little bit of a difference. So let's take a look at what expectations are then and why they often let us down, right? They do. And how we can manage them so that we can lead a little more peaceful and a joyful life, especially as the holidays are coming up, because this is the season for a lot of disappointment. There just is. It isn't like the commercials show us. The reality is quite different. So the thing is that expectations are rooted in our desires, past experiences, and even our fears. You know, we build an ideal version of what it is that we want things to be. And when it doesn't line up, good grief, we're so disappointed. We feel let down. So we want others to react a certain way. And when they don't, it creates resentment. And when they fall short and when they are doing the things that they would normally do, and we are thinking different thoughts that how they should be, it's just there's a collision there that those twains will meet. Never. The problem lies more in our projections, though, than it does their actions. And I have to say, that's Mel Robbins saying that. I agree with that. It's true because again, we have like put on the rose-colored glasses and put out some pretty lofty expectations that are going to be a really difficult thing to go after. So when expectations aren't met, by the way, our brains really, Lincoln, you'll go out later. Okay, come on. Aren't met, our brains release cortisol, the stress hormone, which triggers those feelings of frustration and disappointment. And the research in psychology also shows that unmet expectations activate the reward system in the brain, creating a negative feedback loop, which is really a drag. And you know what that does? It reinforces that disappointment. So that letdown is like a double whammy. And it makes you feel really, really junky and garbagey. So the thing then what to do is to start shifting to anticipation versus expectation. All right, Lincoln, everybody knows. Go get your puss. Go get puss. Puss is his octopus, which he absolutely loves to trot around with. It has 8 legs hanging out of his mouth, and it's so darn cute. Hello, my friend Lynn. I'm glad you're here. So if we let go of expectations, which are mostly rigid because it's a fantasy that's in our mind, it's our imaginations run amok, thinking everything this time is going to be great. Hi, Martha. Good to see you. So when we do that, it's not giving up on what you want. It's instead cultivating a mindset that allows you to accept life as it is, with all the flaws, with all the foibles, with all the people who are coming to your home that you know are going to just maybe you have a cousin who is just always like Debbie Downer. And, just think about the different textures of people who are part of your life. We all have that in our lives. And when we decide, there you go, get it, Lincoln. And when we decide to allow them to just be and be flexible about that, then we can anticipate a little bit different than having these rigid expectations. So we need to, number one, is recognize the source of our expectations, right? A lot of times it's the holidays. The holidays do it for us. And why do they do that to us? Why is it that we think suddenly the holidays is going to bring out everybody's best behavior when it never does? I don't know. Especially when you've got a loaded liquor bar there and people are just not being their very, very best selves. So when you feel this, frustration or disappointment, it's a really good idea to pause and to reflect and to say, you know what was I expecting to happen? Based on everything that I know, is this expectation based on reality, or is it based on some fantasy that I have that the holidays should be a certain way? Was this an unexpected or an unspoken expectation I had of someone else? Times we have to look at those things. So when we identify the source, we begin to realize that our expectation is reasonable, or we see that it's something that might need an adjustment, right? That's the reality check. That's the alignment assignment. Because I know this, that when we bring it down our expectations a little bit and start instead having a lot of latitude and a lot of grace for the people that we love, and being careful about who it is that we left come over our threshold of our homes, then we can see our way toward having a better and a brighter Christmas and Thanksgiving, and just making it a whole lot better and a whole lot less rigid. We have to shift from expectation to intention. we don't need to, we don't need to have specific outcomes. We need to set intentions. So here we go. Intentions are flexible. Expectations are rigid because it's in your mind and it's playing out in the stage of your head on how it's supposed to go. So instead of expecting somebody to act and behave in a certain way, set an intention to communicate honestly and foster understanding with that person. For example, Uncle Al, the alcoholic, right? What if we said to Uncle Al when he comes in, "Hey, I've made up this special cocktail just for you, and it's something watered down." Or, "Hey, Bruce will open the bar shortly," and just let him know in a certain way that you're the one controlling this particular thing, so he can't just go off the edge. When you set an intention, it encourages you to act in alignment with your with your values and not somebody else's. I think that's really, really important because we get so distracted by trying to people please everyone and trying to make sure everybody is behaving themselves. And the absolute exhaustion that we feel at the end of these holidays after doing all of this is ridiculous. It's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this because it's not going to happen based on expectations. We have to put out an intention. We have to study the mindfulness that we use in other areas of our lives and put that kind of a practice into how it is we're going to deal with our family during the holidays. We do. And whoever else we do. We also have to, number 3, practice expectations because practice acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that you are that you want that. Okay. Acceptance does not mean that this is exactly what it is that you want every time. It does not. You know what acceptance means? Acceptance means that you know that something's going to happen and that just because it does, it's still going to be okay. You're going to still get through it. You are accepting that it's going to be completely imperfect and very flawed. And that is such a relief. That is a place of freedom when we do this, because then we're no longer suffering through the mental exhaustion. And we just bring some mindfulness practices into it. We just breathe through it. We just kind of count before we say something that we're going to regret later. And if we work and operate from a place of acceptance, we can respond to a situation rather than react to it, which is huge. Also, number 4 is to communicate openly and to set boundaries because those unspoken expectations can be the worst. Nobody knows what your expectations are unless you've laid them out there for everybody. Mostly we don't do that. We let it sit on the stage of our heads in our minds, and we have the certain way that it's all supposed to go. And when it doesn't, that's when we get upset and that's when we get disappointed. But if we are openly and honestly communicating and saying, this is what it's going to be, and, even taking Uncle Al aside and just say, hey, you know what? A couple of times you've had a little bit too much to drink. I would appreciate if you'd kind of watch it this time. We've got a lot of family here and I want you here. That's why I invited you. But can you just kind of, keep it so that you're not sloppy drunk and taking off your clothes in the middle of the living room? So this is a boundary that you're putting up to say that I am going to accept what's going on in my life here, but these are the within these parameters. And we need to do that with everything, and including the holidays and including our expectations for what we have for the holidays. And we also need to appreciate what is, because expectations can blind us to what's going well. For example, maybe your children just learned how to play the piano or whatever, and they're going to be playing for everybody, and that's going to go, it's going to go as well as it can be expected, but at least they're willing and able to do it. We just need to have gratitude for the little things that are things that we know about and things that we can get done, with our families. And if we practice gratitude for just the little things, our little kids playing those pianos. Hey there, Jeanette. Our parents, all being alive and being there at our tables, and whatever it is that we, can have gratitude, that really helps a whole lot. And it also lessens the hold of expectations and allows for that acceptance, because those flawed people are just as flawed as you are, and you're just as flawed as they are. Remember that. The other thing is challenge your need for control, because if you're a control freak, your cortisol levels are kind of up there all the time. I'm very familiar with this. I have suffered through being controlling myself. My daughter's extraordinarily controlling. She's already, freaking out about Thanksgiving and how it's going to go and what she wants to do, which is everything. But when we let go of control, that doesn't mean that we've stopped caring. It means we're starting to learn how to flow with life. Life doesn't always go the way that we want. Have you noticed that lately? It just doesn't. Stop it. Go away, Lincoln. Get your toys and run. This dog is driving me nuts. But anyway, if when we remind ourselves that flexibility and resilience are greater strengths than control, that they empower you to respond to life's challenges with grace, that's when the freedom really comes. That's when we start to really feel good and feel better and allow for things to happen that aren't perfect for our holidays. Holidays are hard sometimes, but a lot of times the reason holidays are hard is because of the expectations that we're the ones throwing them down. So move forward with open-hearted anticipation. That's the thing. And release these expectations. You can. Maybe it's a challenge, but if you're used to holding things tight and having that control and working on having the outcome that you want, what you can do is just say, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it this year. This dog. I'm just going to roll with it this year. I'm just going to see what is. And, and just say, yeah, you can tell your uncle or tell a cousin or whatever that, yeah, go ahead and bring your, canned ham or whatever gross thing that you don't want at your table. Let them bring it. Who cares? At the end of the day, when we release these expectations, we gain back a lot of freedom in our own lives. We get back our flow. Don't let these things bother you. I mean, they can if you want to, but life is unpredictable. And so are expectations, and so is anticipation. But if we anticipate that we're just going to have a good time, regardless, then let it be. Let it happen. So the next time you feel disappointment creeping in and you've got this whole holiday magic, Hallmark situation going on in your head about how things are going to go, just remember this, that you giving grace to everyone is going to boomerang back to you, and you will get the grace too. And as you're sitting around the table, hands held and saying grace, have an extra dose of gratitude for yourself for having the gumption to allow those expectations to go, and anticipate with great joy in your heart that you're going to have a great holiday, no matter what. All right? All right. I think it's time for the little mister to go out for his walk. Right, Lincoln? Do you like to have a walk? Is it walk time? Is it your favorite thing? Do you want Mama to take you for a walk? Is that it? Okay. Yeah, that's what he wants. He wants a big walk. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you. Happy Thanksgiving coming up. I will definitely see you next week. We are doing Thanksgiving this Thursday here with my family. I will just say this is like one of the best ideas I ever had, because we went looking for airline tickets to fly my son out here would be like almost $1,200 for a flight. If we did it a week early, it was $300. So why not have it a week early? I mean, who cares? We're still doing it. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Go check out the Daily Dish, all the notes You can still get If I Were 50 again, go get that. Everything. It's all there at savingdinner.com/announcement. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you later. Peace. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.